Hello, my name is Greg Dixon from Storyvan TV, and today we have Michael K. Bruner, a visual storyteller, and we met recently on what is that called? Lunch Club,
Lunch
and
Club.
he's in the Denver area. And Lunch Club, there we go, and had an interesting story. We exchanged some stories, and we thought we would just exchange some stories with you. And so maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael.
Yeah, hi. Like you said, my name, Michael, and I have a company that I'm basically starting called Backup Talks, and my background is video production and photography. I was in Dallas for about a decade working on all types of stuff on the commercial side. Um, Worked for 4 years in the advertising world, and then worked about four for myself freelancing. And took a little venture in 2019 to go into family storytelling, and was doing like really direct direct interviews with older generations to get their stories told. And through that process I realized that people had a really hard time sharing their whole self. And so after that business, like, we pivoted away from that model. I realized that I really wanted to do something that gave people the opportunity to share their full truth, share all of their experiences that they've been through in a safe environment, and really integrate into that part some focus on healing and some focus on changing your life through your story. So that's kind of where Backup Talks came from.
Yeah, no, that's great. And yeah, I saw some of your video from your commercial video with in Dallas. So with you had some football scenes and the cheerleaders.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
no,
different.
yeah, it was really, really, really nice work. And I think we've got your website here. Maybe we can pop up. This is your backup talks.
Yeah, so really that is a landing page at this point, but really kind of introduces a little bit of the design and a little bit of the story. So I came up with this sort of three-part um, mission statement, if you will: be seen, be known, and be understood. And when I first got Backup Talks off the ground, I really thought the focus was just on capturing stories and having people archive those for future generations, which was a great, first step. But then as I started to do these interviews and started to kind of go through the process of backing up people's lives, I realized that after the process was over, there was this cathartic release that they had. And in a lot of ways, they had a lot of questions as to, like, well, what do I do with my video now? Or what's the next step? And it was almost as if they were challenging me to come up with some focus on what their story could do for them. And so this website really is the representation of the first kind of iteration of Backup Talks. And now, as of 2022, I'm very much focusing on, okay, how do I take this information, transcribe it, and then run it through a system that can give people answers, and not so much answers as to, okay, this is exactly what this analysis is, but more directions for their life that they can take as a result of sharing their story. So if that's something with regards to mental health and healing, I want to be able to direct people accordingly. And if it's about like career and life coaching, I want to be able to give people resources for that. So it's really, how can the power of your story transform your life for the better?
No, that sounds like a great process. Actually, you inspired me last time we talked. I've started doing a broadcast of my music stories because we do interviews. We tell everybody else's story. We never tell our own stories.
Awesome.
So I've been doing that, and I just with a little note that I name names and incriminate. So, but it's interesting that people are starting to respond to that.
Good.
Um, and you mentioned it's kind of I think at one time you said it's kind of a cathartic experience. Like it's part of there's something um, in it for the storyteller to tell the story, and that can be healing or transformative. How would you describe that?
I would say that a lot of people that I've talked to in this life, when they weren't behind a or when a camera wasn't pointed at them, they're very much open and they want to talk. And it's maybe just my natural way I am in life. I love to hear people's experiences and stories. And and I, in a lot of ways, people have recognized the value of having somebody to share their story with. And so throughout my life, I've acknowledged the value of giving people the opportunity to share their story. One of the biggest things that I've learned along the way is that you have to recognize the responsibility of carrying somebody's story. When somebody shares their truth with you, and the more vulnerable they get, the more attached in a lot of ways they get to you. And so that cathartic experience, it's really a bonding experience as well. And so as I learned that how much responsibility it carries to actually hold that with somebody and to get to know somebody and the experience that exchange that happens, I wanted to be able to take it into a place where people could have access to that, because I feel like a lot of people not only diminish the value of their story, but they also just don't have a lot of great resources, especially in this day and age, for sharing their story and seeing the value of it. And so for me, creating a company and like an offering for people to be able to share that is is a way of connection, is a way to connect them, and a way for them to even have access to ways to connect to other people who have similar stories. So long-term vision for this is, I would love to create a social, like a platform, like a reverse social media platform, because right now social media is very much about sharing what you want people to see. And I would love one day, like maybe I'm really early to this, but backup talks would one day be a place where people could be seen for who they really are. And there's definitely been other businesses that have tried to get this type of service out there. But yeah, I'm hoping that as I learn more about the human experience and ways in which I can direct people appropriately, that this does become a tool for healing for people, and finding the resources they need to process their story properly.
So what is the process for people getting involved with backup talks, like with you? Like how do they come to you, or do you approach them, or what is how does that work?
Yeah, it's an evolving process. Right now, I'm just putting, like, I'm putting more of it out there. I'm definitely inviting people to come share their stories. Really, I'm in kind of this data collection period, because the more interviews that I do, the more I can start to create an actual system around, okay, when somebody says this is what registers and this is what I can direct them towards. So it's really collecting and creating that data dictionary, so that, on the side of the technology, like I can actually provide them with an analysis or a report, and some real time results that they can get as a result of sharing their story. And so for me, I'm inviting people to come do interviews just like we're doing here today. And
Yeah,
as it grows, as I'm able to get that lighthouse effect out there, I'm hoping that more people come and actually offer it. And over time, incentivizing people with the value of what this provides, and then the long term intrinsic value with being able to just back up a version of yourself, back up that moment
yeah,
in time for yourself. So yeah,
like
it's definitely evolving.
yeah. And you mentioned a technology, and I don't know if I have this correct. Were you using some uh, AI type thing, or what was your?
Yeah, so I'm currently in the process of collaborating with a developer who, yeah, as AI, progresses in this day and age. I mean, it's getting better and better at being able to read through a transcript and then give real-time results as a result of having gone through enough of those and understood what it means. So basically working with a developer who has done these types of systems before, and so that AI system would scan through the data, and then we would be in, like, the whole process of working with a developer would be to teach that AI system exactly what we're looking for in that spoken word. So as people share more and more of that same story, because there's so many commonalities in the human experience, right? Like we all are broken, in one way, shape, or form. We all have been through something. And the more of those stories that we can collect, the more we can create an actual, yeah, AI, a functional AI system that can really teach people and help people on their healing journey, or not even just on their healing journey, but just figure out direction in life, things that they're passionate about, things they might not even understand. And so, yeah, it's definitely a different direction, because at first when I went into the visual storytelling backup talks headspace, I was like, I'm just going to interview people and just give them the experience of sharing their story. But like I said, when I was challenged by those people on the other side of the interview, they wanted to know, well, what else can this story do for me, or what is this content going to
Okay.
really do? And the only answers I had was, well, we could edit it and we could turn it into something, but there wasn't as much interest in that. People, they're less interested in publishing content unless they're in this particular space to do that. And really what people wanted was to understand more of themselves. It was like the whole self-awareness journey. So
So the software would analyze and then give some attempt to give some feedback or some look for patterns that you might not see for yourself
yeah,
or
patterns. And then
yeah.
as we like partner and work with other groups that work in the space of, life path and direction, or, personal healing, my hope is that with, in addition to the report, it can like give people access points into how, like, what are the next steps now that they've shared their story, what is their short story able to like direct them in, and what paths can they take as a result of learning these things about themselves. So that's really sort of this real like primitive kind of version of what backup talks is.
Okay. And how do they reach you through the website or how did they contact you? How
As of
did
right
they
now, yeah, they can reach, like, there's a contact page on there. They can book online, and that booking online is more just like setting up a preliminary call, but it gives us direct access, so they could write a little note about themselves in there, or we can, they can reach me through my email, and I also have my other website as well, which is more of my commercial work, which is direct contact as well.
do you want to take a quick look at that?
Sure,
Um,
we can look at my background.
yeah, so at your let's see. Uh
mkbrunner.com.
yeah. Oh,
Still there? Oh.
yeah, the problem with a browser-based broadcast system is you have to be careful what you type in. Anyway, so there we go. That's the beauty of live television. So
Okay.
here, okay, there we go. So I'm going to get you load up your tab and okay, here. Okay, one, hang on. Tell a story there, Mike.
I was just, yeah, I didn't know at what point, I needed to jump in and support. Yeah, so we talked about briefly like my upbringing. I think the reason I went into video production and photography was actually, I've always been fascinated with people, and I loved watching movies as a kid, like so many people who get into film do. And I had this just passion to tell stories, to be seen myself. In a lot of ways, my whole vision for backup talks is a reflection of my own, desire for people to be seen and be known and be understood. And so in a lot of ways, my visual videography kind of focus was a way for me to just be seen in the world. And yeah, I mean, I told myself, I was going to get as good as I could with it. I was going to excel and really do my best. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, like I just populated this website with everything from my like professional career, mostly from my agency days. So I have a lot of big brands that I threw up there just for eye candy. But I feel like my photo work is probably more a representation of how I connect with people. And so if you keep scrolling, there's yeah, just a whole smorgasbord of things. Um, I had like some travel mixed in there, and some more commercial for like Top Golf, and yeah, I did a lot.
Yeah,
But
you did a
go ahead.
yeah, but the pink got, cut off there a bit.
All good.
I'm gonna just play the video here a bit.
Sure, if you want.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it just speaks to what you got to do, and I mean, it's yeah, it's just a compilation of my that, I mean, you would call that a sizzle reel, right?
This is real, yeah. No, there's some fun stuff in there. You did some things in Spanish, it looked like.
Yeah, I was working with the AT&T Hispanic team, and yeah, we had a lot of fun just covering events, and yeah, I was the all around, like I figured out how to be, the guy who played all the instruments at once, one man band. And when I went into freelance and I was doing that again, it got a little bit cumbersome, which is one of the reasons why I started to pivot into like getting more clear and more having a more succinct direction as to how I wanted to show up in the world. And so yeah, Backup Talks is a reflection of my video background, and then also my heart for people, and
Yeah.
that's definitely how the two worlds come together.
No, I think that's a great project, and, I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops over the next while,
Thank you.
and, yeah. So people want to learn more, they go to backuptalks.com.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, is there anything else you wanna add today, or, what would any, story?
um
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what do you have any questions for me? Anything that stands out? I mean, for me personally, you've heard a little bit about my commercial background, but yeah, I'm open to whatever if you have anything to ask.
Well, okay, you had shown in your photos on your website there had, places around the world, and so you have some international experiences.
A little
Uh,
bit, yeah.
so a little
So yeah,
yeah.
I was raised as a missionary kid in Eastern Europe. So I grew up in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Austria. And from that, a lot of my travel actually happened before the age of 18. And then I did a little bit just in the past, 15 or so years, just traveling around and seeing friends really that I made in that early formative time of life. But yeah, I love being able to experience other cultures, and it's interesting. I'm not a big vacationer. Like, I like to go places with intention. One of the like great highlights of sort of my commercial like work was going down to Mexico and Monterrey, and we were able to film with a really old, like, I think she was in her 100. She was like over 100 years old, and we got to like tell her story. for her family. And that was sort of in the early days of when Backup Talks wasn't really a full concept yet, but we were capturing just snapshots of people's life stories and like documentary style. And yeah, I really love that type of work, like being able to go to different countries. And, there's a lot of people who thrive in that environment. And it's exciting, it's exciting to be able to have those opportunities. And I've had a few of them. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy that too. I've traveled quite a bit through Europe. I've been to the Czech Republic and Prague and Austria and Slovakia, and so it's yeah, pretty good.
awesome.
And we've gone a lot of places in this RV too,
Oh,
North
yeah.
America.
No, I'm sure your list of stories is,
Yeah, yeah,
is probably
yeah,
up.
yeah, and that's it's really because it sounds like your experience in other countries have helped inspire backup talks because you've talked to a lot of different people and different life experiences and quite a
Yeah.
bit of
Well,
yeah.
some of the things that I've learned along the way is just, we all have very different backgrounds and different cultural heritages, but so many of the problems that people experience. I mean, I feel like Western culture faces them differently, but when it comes to the core root of people's security and themselves and knowing themselves and learning more about the world and being able to actually live their best life, that's really what Backup Talks comes down to. Is, yeah, my heart for people has always been there. Like, I remember even as a kid, I was just fascinated by the other, like I always wanted to engage other people and be a part of whatever they were doing. And had a, that, I think that's probably where, I got confused in a lot of ways with my like identity along the way. Is I wanted so much, like I would get so distracted by other people's visions or dreams and wants and likes. And I think for me, having a place that opens that up in a way that's controlled and there's like boundaries, the business itself invites all people in. Now, like as this thing grows and as it refines itself, like I'm hoping there's a lot more ways in which, like, one of the things I want to implement for Backup Talks is sort of like an initial personality test or an analysis that gives them a more adequate or accurate like question based interview, so that based on their personality, based on their background, their heritage, whatever ethnicity, they have a better experience in having a more direct interview process. So there's so much you can do, and there's so many businesses already out there that are playing in this space. But yeah, that's sort of the long-term vision.
No, I think that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, and maybe we'll have you back in a few months, and we'll catch up to
We
where
love it.
we're
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Great to see you.
Okay, thank you.